Koreans gear up for a possible energy crisis during the summer. We introduce economic ways of cooling down with new material and energy-efficient appliances. A new Korea-China relation in a new Southeast Asia. We bring you the analysis of the Korea-China summit meeting based on the Korea-China FTA, as well as other economic issues. Recharge by placing the smartphone on a pad. We find out about the rising future technology in wireless recharge. The outdoor shoes created with data from analyzing 20,000 types of feet. We introduce Treksta, which has received global recognition with its outstanding comfort shoes. The arduous march is a North Korean slogan put forward by authorities in times of economic difficulty and food shortages. We hear about real accounts during the hardship period.
Hello, I'm Andrew Salmon. Welcome to Bizline. Now, I am sweating like an iceberg in a sauna because South Korea is facing unprecedented power shortfalls this summer. In response, the South Korean government is restricting the use of aircon in places like government buildings and subways, with the result that there will be some very, very sticky days ahead. So stay with us on Bizline. We'll be looking at some ways you can beat the heat this summer. We'll also be assessing the outcome of the recent Korea-China summit in Beijing. We'll be investigating wireless recharge technology, a technology that may just obviate all those pesky cords and cables attached to your gadgets and devices. But before we go to those stories, let's take a look at all the breaking business and economic news hitting headlines across South Korea this week.
The Korea New Exchange, or KONEX, Korea's third stock market, is now up and running. The KONEX was created with the aim of helping startups and small to mid-sized businesses with high growth potential finance themselves, as they are too small to be listed on either the Kospi, the main bourse, or the tech-heavy Kosdaq. The bourse operator is hoping to attract 50 companies with a combined market capitalization of roughly $876 million by the year's end. The gap between the number of Koreans traveling out of the country and the number of visitors coming into Korea is widening. New data from the Bank of Korea and the Korea Culture and Tourism Institute shows that there were more outbound travelers than inbound visitors in the January to May period, giving the country a tourism deficit of $1.59 billion, much more than last year's shortfall of $140 million. Branching away from just producing standard HD TVs, the Korean tech giants Samsung and LG Electronics have developed curved organic light-emitting diode TVs. Just like an IMAX theater, the screen is curved so viewers can enjoy every detail more vividly. Each and every pixel illuminates itself to create an even clearer resolution. These OLED TVs will cost over $13,000. Samsung was not the first company to mass-produce this technology, though. LG debuted the world's first flat-screen OLED TV last January and launched its own 55-inch curved OLED TV just 2 months ago. Commercial buildings could be slapped with a fine of up to $2,600 if they don't have their doors closed while running their air conditioning. Seoul's district offices will deploy special squads on the streets to crack down on stores that do not follow the energy conservation policy. Such energy-saving measures are being implemented amid the country's continued power shortage crisis.
As every local viewer will already know, South Korea is suffering through an unusually hot and sweltering summer. To make matters worse, the government is restricting the use of air conditioning due to anticipated shortfalls in power in the coming days, weeks and months. But don't dismay. In our business issues segment, we'll be taking a look at a range of products and services that include lightweight fabrics and climate controls that'll help you beat the heat even on a budget. Let's check it out.
Summer is here again and the heat is back. However, it seems to get more and more unbearable than the past, more humid and hotter. It would seem natural to turn on the air conditioner to stay cool, but that's out of the question these days due to an unexpected power shortage the country is suffering. So what's there to be done to survive the heat? This year, the Korea Meteorological Administration announced that the summer will be hotter than the previous years.
참 많이 더워진 것 같아요. 오늘도 다니는데 엄청 더워서 땀이 많이 흘리고 지금 다니다 왔어요.
The summer climate has been getting warmer in reflection of the global warming, and the average temperature during summer has been gradually rising. On the other hand, the country is burdened with a fast rising demand for power supply beyond what the government had predicted in past and was slow in building additional power plants.
이제 원전이 가동 중인 것이 이제 2기가 정지하고 또 당초 그 예방 정비를 빨리 근데 복귀를 해야 되는데 그게 또 같이 복귀를 못하면서 3기가 좀 차질이 생겼거든요.
Unfortunately, there isn't enough electricity to satisfy everyone's need to stay cool, and the public is trying to conserve energy. In order to cope with the power shortage, the government announced energy conservation measures, mainly limiting the use of most power-consuming air conditioning system at public buildings.
우리도 산하 공공기관들은 타 공공기관보다도 어떻게 보면 상황을 더 심각하게 받아들이고 전력난 극복을 위한 그런 모든 노력을 강구해 주시기 부탁드리겠습니다.
Civic workers at this government office contributing however they can and coping to survive the summer heat.
정부 그 정책에 따르면은 저희가 이제 부서 사무실에 냉방 온도 가동 시에도 28도 이상을 유지하게 돼 있고요. 저희도 현재 28도 이상을 다 부서에 실내 온도를 유지하고 있습니다. 현재 실제로 30도가 넘는 실내 온도가 측정이 됩니다.
People in the office are using fans and are wearing casual clothes without ties or even shorts to stay cool as possible. The building has a control center which cuts off power when its use reaches a set limit. It no longer turned on scene lighting in evenings. Their efforts have resulted in using less electricity and help save money.
특히 여름 와서 냉방 가동을 이제 억제하면서 저희가 상당한 에너지 절감 효과를 거뒀습니다. 지금 작년 동월, 그러니까 작년 동월 대비 금년 동월 전력 사용량을 비교를 저희가 해봤는데 그 전력 그 감소량이 83,000kW 이상이 나왔습니다. 이거를 금액으로 환산하자면 1,150만 원 정도의 예산 절감 효과가 발생한 거죠.
Government isn't the only institution asked to conserve energy. The general public are included in the campaign, and the indoor temperature is higher than the past. It isn't easy finding areas that are well air-conditioned anymore. Even department stores are asked not to operate air conditioners to go below 26 degrees Celsius. So how do the public cope with the situation?
예년에 비해서 실내 온도가 너무 더워져가지고요. 좀 시원한 감으로 알아보고 있거든요. 그리고 땀이 제가 개인적으로 좀 많아가지고 좀 더 이제 기능성 있고 땀 흡수가 잘 되고 통풍이 잘 되는 그런 제품을 지금 찾아다니고 있어요.
These days, apparel companies are introducing clothes that can help people stay cooler while maintaining the right looks, even for white-collar workers who have to be dressed properly.
요즘 이제 직장인 고객님들이 이제 특히나 이 넥타이나 이런 거를 안 하시고 이 착장을 하실 수 있는 그런 상품들이 인기입니다. 그래서 좀 시원하게 소재로는 아마나 이런 폴리 소재로 좀 구김이 안 가면서 통풍성이 좋은 그런 상품들이 아주 인기가 좋습니다.
This man's clothing company has introduced products that claims to lower temperature by around 1 degree.
매출에 미치는 영향 같은 경우는 뭐 정장, 와이셔츠, 드레스셔츠, 티셔츠, 난방, 바지까지 포함해서 거의 전체 매출의 한 90% 이상을 차지한다고 보시면 됩니다.
The company developed cooler-feeling clothes, and customers are providing encouraging feedbacks.
옷도 엄청 가볍고요. 올 여름은 밖에서 입었을 때도 땀 안 흘리고 시원하게 보낼 수 있을 것 같아서 괜찮을 것 같아요.
Wearing clothes that feels cooler may not be able to do the tricks, and there is a need to make the air feel cooler. But air conditioners have known to consume too much electricity, which is a problem in the country suffering power shortage.
작년보다 더 더워져가지고 에어컨이나 이런 전자기기 사용이 더 많아지고 있는데요. 그래도 그만큼 더 아끼려고 선풍기나 가급적 그런 더 저렴한 제품을 사용하려고 노력하고 있어요.
Consumers are working to conserve energy and finding dehumidifier as a replacement to air conditioning units.
제습기 같은 경우는 이제 작년 대비 올해 같은 경우는 거의 판매량이 하루에 이제 못해도 200대 이상을 나가는 이제 가장 많은 수량을 보이고 있고요. 지금 물건 같은 경우는 지금 공장에서 생산량을 못 마실 정도로 많은 양이 판매되고 있습니다.
Dehumidifiers have become so popular this summer because they consume fraction of the electricity than an air conditioner, while it can help users feel cooler when it is used with an electric fan.
에너지 절감 효과로 지금 최고의 조합은 지금 제습기와 선풍기로 지금 볼 수 있는데요. 제습기로 일단 먼저 가동하셔서 습도를 낮춰주신 상태에서 선풍기를 틀어주시면은 그 에어컨과 같은 효과로 찬바람을 일으킬 수 있고요. 고객님들한테도 조금 더 그 조합을 조금 더 선호를 많이 드리고 있습니다.
The summer heat wave won't go anywhere if not worse, so it's up to the people to be wise and find ways to cope with it the smart way amid times when we have to be conscientious of energy use. This year, it looks like dressing cool and keeping air drier using humidifier were the biggest summer heat items. For next summer, there will be different items that will be coaxing consumers to open up their wallet and conserve energy at the same time.
For millennia, Korea and China have enjoyed relations, sometimes amicable, often contentious. Today, the relationship is more complicated than ever. China is South Korea's #1 trade partner, but is also the key ally and aid provider for North Korea. Last week, over a 4-day summit, the leaders of China and South Korea met to discuss various issues. What were the outcome of these talks? What can we expect going forward? Well, we have here today an expert from Kyunghee University, Professor Jae-woo. Thank you for joining us, Professor, on Bizline.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get started.
Yes.
How would you assess the recent Korea-China summit, speaking very broadly?
Yes, I like to give it a fairly high remark. I think it was a very successful visit for both countries, because obviously we all know that President Park and President Xi Jinping of China, they just embarked on a 5-year voyage together because they just inaugurated as a new leaders.
At approximately the same time,
yes,
right?
That's right, that's right. And at the same time, as President Park Geun-hye, emphasized that this year is the 21st year of the relationship, and obviously last year they just closed the first 20 years of chapter of the bilateral relationship, and they're about to begin to open up a new chapter. And I think it was a good occasion for the two countries to lay out a great foundation for the next 20 years ahead.
Okay, so what would you give them? A, B, C, or D?
Oh, I'd like to give them an A+.
An A+,
Yes.
things went that well. Okay, now of course one of the big issues,
Yes.
let's start with the big issue, is the denuclearization
Yes.
of North Korea. And it's widely believed in the Western world at least that China has the most influence upon North Korea.
Yes.
But realistically, is there anything that China, South Korea and the rest of the world can do to denuclearize North Korea?
Yes, I think one variable that we're missing here to the success of the denuclearization efforts of North Korea was China. It was China, because the international community has been really consistent and persistent with their efforts in sanctioning the North Korea to push North Korea towards denuclearization in a peaceful manner. However, thus far, up to last year, China was not willing to participate in the international community's efforts, and they didn't want to be part of it. But turning this year around, China has been proactively participating in sanctioning North Korea, and I think that's one great missing puzzle that we're missing over the years. And I think with the participation of China on sanctioning North Korea, I think now we have a better leverage over North Korea.
Are you suggesting that we really have seen a significant change then in Chinese policy towards North Korea?
I wouldn't call it a significant change yet, but because I don't think there's any perceptual change coming from Beijing, or I don't think there's a fundamental change in the policy line of China towards North Korea yet. But I think it really demonstrates how China is taking serious And I think there's a change in attitude towards North Korean nuclear issue here.
Okay. Let's move on to President Park's meetings. Now, she met obviously with President Xi. She also met the number 2, Li Keqiang, Zhang Dejiang. What is the significance of meeting the top 3 people in China?
Because, you know, this time she brought the largest economic delegation to China, and she wanted some breakthrough in our economic relations with China. And the very important person that she needs to meet was Premier Li Keqiang, who's entirely in charge of China's economic policy, development policy, and so forth. So there, I think she really wanted to push hard to arrange a meeting with Premier Li Keqiang, and then with Zhang Dejiang, obviously his chairman of the National People's Congress, and National People's Congress being the legislative body in China. She was hoping that, you know, the legislation would have a smooth way of paving all these, you know, legislative motions on behalf of South Korea.
Obviously, significant trade, significant investment by South Korea and China. Can you give us some actual numbers? What is the data for South Korean trade and South Korean investment in China as of now?
Yeah, as of last year, 2012, the bilateral trade volume stood at, it recorded $215 billion US dollars. And during President Park's visit to Beijing, both leaders agreed to achieve and break the mark of $250 billion US dollars before the year 2015. So I think, you know, they realize, you know, how fast the trade has been, you know, developing and growing in the bilateral relationship. And in terms of investment, as of last year, if I remember correctly, I think it broke $60 billion US dollars
of South Korean investment in China. Okay, now, you know, trade does have its ups, it also has its downs. Now, Korea's had a trade surplus with China since, I think, 1993. So this is an imbalance which could cause some problems, particularly from Beijing, I suspect. Moreover, of course, there are some voices which are saying that now with, I think, 24.5% of South Korea's total trade being with China, this is too much exposure to China. Do you agree with these two
No, not
two
really.
critiques?
If you're going to look at it in midterm or long-term perspective, you know, I don't think, you know, China, South Korea's trade with China could exceed, you know, 25% or even 30%. Because obviously both countries are diversifying their export market, world market, and I think they're looking for other ways to improve their trade structure. So I don't think, you know, I don't think there's any country in the world that, you know, relies too much on one country for their export or import and exceeds, you know, 30% of the total trade volume. But on the other hand, you know, even the surplus that, you know, South Korea has been enjoying since 1993. The amount of surplus has been actually decreasing over the recent years. I think it was a few years ago that we enjoyed the largest surplus from our trade with China. But since then, it was a few years ago, and since then, you know, the surplus has been decreasing.
Okay. There's also a fear, I think, in Korea that perhaps, you know, Chinese companies in many sectors, from shipbuilding to electronics, are now starting to catch up with the big and very successful Korean players. How worrisome is that for South Korea, or how worried should South Koreans be about Chinese catching up, possibly overtaking the big chaebol?
Yes, it'll definitely shrink our market. It'll reduce our market opportunities here. That's for sure. But, you know, what South Korean companies should do is, you know, go for better qualities, improve the qualities, and compete with Chinese counterparts in quality terms. And I think that's where South Korean companies have the edge.
Have the edge.
Yes.
Okay. So you think that South Korean companies, quality, presumably also branding, can remain ahead of Chinese companies in the international markets for how long? This is the question everyone wants to know the answer to.
That's right. There's speculation. It's not my opinion, but, you know, people are speculating that, you know, probably at least for the next 15 to 20 years. That's a good assumption, I think.
the South Korean companies can stay ahead of their Chinese competitors.
Because industry is not going to remain idle.
Yeah.
There will be always innovative industries, innovative technologies, and I think South Korea, just like the United States, will stay ahead with all this innovative thinking and innovative technologies.
Okay. Well, that's of tremendous interest, I think, pretty much anyone who follows South Korea.
Yes.
But obviously, FTAs do face political obstacles as well as economic obstacles.
That's right.
We saw that particularly with the Korean-American FTA, less so with the Korea-EU FTA. What do you think will be the major obstacles? What are the sticking points in the China-South Korea free trade agreement negotiations?
Yes, for South Korea, obviously, it's going to be the agricultural market. Yeah, yes, and we've already witnessed, how bad the things could turn out with the U.S. and South Korea FTA negotiation, and even after the conclusion, there was a huge demonstration regarding, agricultural products and the way the market is going to open up, the degree of the openness, and so forth. And I think, the situation could repeat again with regards to China. For China, obviously, it's going to be, they're not really concerned with the degree of the openness that they have to pursue and with South Korea. But here, I think more of the problem is they want to increase the import of technology from South Korea. And that would include some sensitive technologies, high-end technologies, and I think that's where obstacles could arise.
Now, for the Korean Peninsula, China has always been, the giant next door, and China is already obviously became a superpower, a military superpower during the Korean War, is now an economic superpower, and its ascent is only going to continue.
Yes.
For South Korea, speaking very, very big picture, is modern China risk or opportunity?
From South Korean perspective, definitely. We would have to be optimistic here. I think China will be a great opportunity for South Korea for years to come, because for a few reasons. For economic reason, definitely China is the largest market, and we depend on China for most of our revenues generating from exports and imports and trade and so forth. And the market itself is really enticing to South Korea, and we cannot lose the opportunity,
to get in there.
Yes, budding in China now. Even in investment terms, we all know that China is the richest country in the world now.
After the United States, presumably.
Yes, that's right. But in terms of foreign reserves and the money that they can spare, and the way they've been, putting up investment overseas.
High forex, low government debt. Okay,
exactly,
sure.
And Chinese business and Chinese government haven't been able to find a way to put these investment into South Korea, and we haven't had, large amount of investment coming from China yet. As of last year, we only had about $400 million of investment coming from China, and that's really, really marginal to Chinese standard. So I think there's a greater opportunity for South Korea to receive much larger amount of investment from China, and I think that'll be helpful to our economy.
Is that the case? My sense is that the Chinese investments abroad are being made particularly in natural resources. We're seeing, for example, in Africa, massive Chinese investment. What makes South Korea attractive as a market for Chinese business?
Yes, I think that's a kind of biased view here, in interpreting Chinese overseas investment, because that's where international media has been focusing on. But if you look into little details here, they're going after these high technology and industries, and that's where they want to get their technology transfer into their domestic industry and market. So they're really aggressive on M&A of all these healthy and constructive companies of international. So that's where the money has been going a lot too. But unfortunately, in South Korean case, because of our bad experience with previous cases, just like you mentioned, unfortunately the investment has been coming in. So here, I think it'll take both countries to improve the situation, and I think South Korea should continue, advertising the benefits and the better offness of Korean market and Korean companies.
So hopefully we'll see more Chinese coming into South Korea in the near future.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Dr. Chu, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Very important topic. I'm sure we'll meet again, perhaps on Bizline again soon. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. In the Western world, the traditional time to tell a spooky story is a dark midwinter's night. But here in Korea, it's different. The Koreans believe the best time for a ghost story or a scary story is a steamy summer's day. The belief is a good shock can cool you down. So if you're a Korean and you're watching this, prepare yourself for a horrible fright. Imagine what you would do if your cell phone or your smartphone ran out of power. Now, in tech-crazy South Korea, no Kim Park or Lee can last very long without his or her smartphone or cell phone. The problem with smartphones, of course, is the batteries on these babies don't last that long, especially if the phone is being used at maximum capacity. Now, a new technology is being developed which enables the recharging of handheld devices without the use of power cords or power cables. It's called wireless recharge technology. And its use is not restricted to handheld devices. It can also be used to recharge such huge objects as, say, a moving train. In our ICT segment, we'll be taking a look at a technological development which may make the use of power cords and power cables completely redundant.
Wireless charging technology is a hot topic lately in the ICT industry, as it enables to recharge a smartphone without cables or recharge a bus and a train while running. Let's have a close look at wireless charging technology, which has been constantly evolving. With advancements in specifications and features of a smartphone, demand for wireless charging technology, enabling a mobile phone to be recharged automatically anytime, anywhere, is higher than ever among smartphone users, as battery life has not improved enough to back up the complicated features. An extra battery has not been a perfect solution either. The global wireless charger market is expected to reach $130 million in value this year. And the market for smartphone wireless chargers is forecast to start to grow significantly this year. But the wireless charging technology that many people dream of is resonance charging technology, which allows a battery to be charged without direct contact between a device and a charging pad. This method is still under development. Instead, magnetic inductive technology, requiring a charging pad and a device to be in direct contact, has been adopted in the mainstream because it is deemed most efficient as of yet. But the inductive charging method is not so convenient either. If the location of the transmitter coil in a charging pad does not perfectly match the receiver coil in a smartphone, efficiency drops significantly. Thus, a small and medium-sized company in South Korea developed frequency tracking technology to tackle the issue.
자기유도 무선 충전은요, 1차 코일과 2차 코일이 있습니다. 1차 코일과 2차 코일이 잘 결합되어야지만이 많은 전류가 2차 코일로 전달이 됩니다. 저희는 주파수 검출이란 기술을 이용해서 이게 항상 잘 일치해서 사용할 수 있도록 휴대폰의 LCD 화면에 표시해주는 기술을 가지고 있습니다.
This technology allows a user to charge a mobile phone battery at a location that could maximize efficiency by indicating the phone's position on a pad in a home screen. It detects the location of a transmitter coil by monitoring changes in frequencies of the charging pad after extracting the frequencies. The company's frequency tracking technology was recently designated as a standard technology by the Wireless Power Consortium for the greatness of the technology. The frequency tracking technology is expected to be installed in mobile phones with wireless charging capability to be sold worldwide.
코일이 일치하기 위해서는 반드시 자석이 필요하고 또 자석을 제거했을 때는 반드시 저희 회사가 개발한 주파수 트래킹 기술이 탑재되어야 합니다. 이 기술이 탑재되지 않고는 무선 충전이 상용화 되기는 매우 어렵습니다. 저희는 이 기술이 금년 하반기부터 또 2014년 무선 충전이 상용화되는 그 시점에 대량으로 사용될 것으로 현재 예상하고 있습니다.
This is a bus running on power charged wirelessly at KAIST campus. How is it possible to charge it remotely? The secret is the power supplying system buried under the road's surface. And this system powers the bus by transmitting 20 kHz electromagnetic field to the bus.
현재 지금 한 픽업은 집전되는 건 한 40-50kW 정도 되고요. 배터리 집전되는 게 한 30kW 정도 됩니다. 그래서 나머지 한 10kW 정도는 이제 차량에서 필요한 뭐 에어컨이라든지 이런 데서 사용을 하게 되어 있고요. 기존 그 자기 유도 방식에 비해서 저희가 급전부하고 집전 부분에 그 공진 회로를 추가했습니다. 이로 인해서 이제 출력단의 용량과 효율을 극대화할 수 있었고요. 저희가 현재 출력단 용량은 한 100kW 정도 되고요. 그 다음에 효율은 한 85% 정도 이상이 출력되고 있고요. 그 다음에 이제 그 지상고, 그러니까 도로 표면하고 그 집전 모듈 간의 그 거리는 지금 한 20cm 정도 이상까지 나오고 있습니다.
But 20 kHz electromagnetic field is not high enough to power high-capacity transportation systems, such as railways. KAIST and the Korea Railroad Research Institute work together to boost electromagnetic field by 3-folds to 60 kHz with success. This technology boasts efficiency rate that is 3 times higher than Primove wireless charging technology applied to a train system in Germany with a supply of 20 kHz power. Following its introduction of the world's first wireless charging technology for a bus in 2011, the team went on to develop technology transmitting high power to a train wirelessly.
최근에 저희가 성공한 트램에는 180kW의 전력을 전송할 수 있는 그런 시스템이 되어 있습니다만은 미래는 저희가 10MW 또 아니면 20MW 정도의 무선 전력 시스템을 가지고서 초고속 레일형 초고속 열차를 한번 개발해 볼까 이렇게 생각을 하고 있습니다.
On growing expectations for wireless charging technology, resonance charging technology, enabling charging at a great distance, is forecast to be commercialized in the future. Furthermore, it will likely be possible to power remotely not only buses or trains, but also airplanes, thanks to wireless charging technology with high power transmission density developed by the team of Korean researchers. And there is no doubt that Korea is leading the era of wireless charging technology.
Korea has a lot of great outdoors, and Korean outdoor gear is becoming hugely popular in the local market at present. Despite the huge domestic demand, one maker of outdoor shoes is seeing its sales in international markets exceed its sales in the local market. What is the secret to their success? Let's meet this week's hidden champion.
Many of us try to maintain a healthy lifestyle by taking a trip into nature and making exercise part of our daily routine. Comfortable shoes that fit a person's feet to the point that it almost feels like walking barefoot improves the whole experience of the outdoors. The world's outdoor enthusiasts are taking off into nature trails wearing Korean outdoor shoes. Office worker Kyunghee Jin has been enjoying hiking for several years to maintain a healthy lifestyle. She is equipped with the right hiking outwear from top to bottom, but what she is most interested in are hiking shoes, which need to be functional and comfortable at the same time.
제가 발이 너무 자주 부어서 그런지 하산할 때쯤에 등산화를 신으면 발이 너무 아프더라고요. 이 등산화를 신고 가니까 하산할 때도 발이 안 아프고 또 겨울에도 등산을 해봤는데 미끄러지지도 않더라고요. 그래서 발도 편하고 뭐 산할 때도 전혀 불편함이 없어서 그때부터 이 등산화를 신고 더 자주 등산을 했던 것 같아요.
We visited a store that has become a popular place for outdoor enthusiasts. The store was packed during lunchtime with people looking for outdoor shoes.
요즘 아웃도어를 찾는 분들이 많이 늘었고요. 그 뭐 등산화나 트레킹화, 뭐 가벼운 소재로 뭐 편하신 걸 찾는 분들이 많이 늘어서 그 연령대도 다양해졌고요. 그래서 요즘 뭐 찾는 분들이 많이 늘었습니다.
Customers look for various types of outdoor shoes, and their selection is not limited to the design and color, but include interests in various functional aspects of the shoes.
신발을 처음 볼 때 미끌리진 않는지, 그리고 착화감은 좋은지, 신고 벗기 하기 편한지 여러 가지를 보는데 막상 와가지고 신발을 신어보니까 착화감도 되게 좋고 제 발에 감기는 같은 그런 기분이 되게 기분 좋았고요.
Treksta is a company that specializes in outdoor shoes with a passion for innovation through continuous product development. In 1982, the company succeeded in creating the world's first lightweight hiking shoes in a market dominated by leather-based hiking shoes. In 1993, the company broke the barrier in inline boots from hard boots to soft inline boots. By 1999, Treksta created its first custom-made digital shoes.
제가 사업을 한 것이 1988년도였거든요. 그때는 우리 신발 산업이 대한민국에서 더 이상 장래가 없다. 이렇게 해서 많은 분들이 신발 사업을 접고 또 이제 신발 산업을 한국에서 해외로 이전을 했습니다. 근데 그 당시에 제 생각에는 이 아웃도어 신발 포함해서 특수화 이 사업은 한국에서 앞으로도 크게 이제 전망이 있겠다. 몇십 년은 충분히 이제 할 수 있겠다.
Treksta's representative product, Sync, is made with the body engineering Nesfit technology. The system tries to find the ideal size through the 3D scan data of people's feet. The shoes that are created with this technology fit a person's feet perfectly that it almost feels like walking barefoot.
트랙사에서는 약 2만 명의 그 소비자들의 발을 3D 스캐닝으로 조사를 했습니다. 그러다 보니까 실제 발 모양과 동일한 족형이 나오게 된 것이죠. 이 동일한 발 모양 족형이라는 것은요, 모든 사람들은 단적인 예로 모든 사람들은 여기가 튀어나와 있는데 이게 실제적으로 2만 명쯤 스캐닝을 하고 나니까요, 이게 위치가 틀리고 높이가 틀릴 뿐이지 모든 사람들에게 다 튀어나와 있다는 걸 발견했고요. 완벽한 피팅을 이제 구현한다고 볼 수 있습니다.
Treksta outdoor shoes reduces pressure by 23% when walking and reduces the degree of muscle fatigue by 31%, which minimizes stress, providing the ultimate comfort. The company applied the snowboard BOA system into its outdoor shoes, which replaces the traditional shoelace. By turning the dial on the sides, the shoe tightens around the foot, providing comfort and fun for outdoor enthusiasts.
사용 방법은 지금 이렇게 탈착을 해서 그대로 와이어가 풀리게 되어 있고요. 실제적으로 다시 닫아서 돌리게 되면 잠겨지는 시스템이 되어 있습니다. 이 와이어는 스테인리스로 되어 있어서 실제 러스트 프루프가 완벽하게 구현될 수 있도록 해서 물놀이나 실제 이 비우기 시에도 녹이 슬거나 작동이 멈추는 그런 현상이 없도록 고안되었습니다.
Treksta shoes are less appealing in design, as the company focuses more on comfort and the functional aspects of the product. But the company has kept a steady vision of making safe and comfortable shoes rather than creating outdoor shoes with elaborate design.
많은 분들이 우리 신발을 신어보시고 정말 이제 편안한데 좀 더 예쁘게 만들어줄 수 없느냐 이런 얘기를 이제 하지만은 저희들은 이제 패션 위주로 예쁘게 만드는 것보다는 편안하게 정말 이제 안락하게 우리 이제 이 소비자들이 신발을 신으면은 이제 행복하게 이렇게 이제 만들려고 노력을 하고 있습니다.
Hiking experts agree that when it comes to outdoor activity, personal health should become a priority, with emphasis in choosing hiking shoes that are safer rather than appealing in design.
장거리 산행 같은 경우에는
그 산에 워낙 험한 지역이 요철부비 많기 때문에 발을 보호해줘야 돼요. 그래서 바닥 부분이 좀 두꺼운 거, 그리고 그 보온력이라든가 방수 이런 거 잘 되는 게 장거리 산행에 적합한 중등산화라고 할 수 있고요. 그 다음에 단거리 산행에 적합한 것은 가벼워야 됩니다. 가볍고 편안하고 신발을 신지 않은 것 같은 상태가 될 수 있도록 신발이 편안하게 자기 발에 잘 맞아야 된다고 생각됩니다.
Treksta's technology behind its outdoor shoes has gained global recognition. Treksta is becoming an increasingly popular brand in countries that lead in the outdoor industry, like the United States, Japan, as well as other countries in Asia and Europe. Treksta shoes are being exported to some 60 countries around the world. The company's challenge continues even after it has set new standards in the global outdoor shoe market. The global outdoor gear market is dealing with an outpour of distinguished brands. In it, a Korean company is shifting the trend in outdoor products, focused on leisure and design by creating products that provide safety and health for people who enjoy the outdoors.
If you follow North Korea, you will have come across the term arduous march. This is the euphemism North Korea uses to describe the famine, the murderous famine that killed perhaps 1 million people in the late 1990s. Since then, the term has resurfaced again and again. It's the slogan that Pyongyang uses whenever it orders its people to endure hardship or to make sacrifices. But what does arduous march mean when applied to the economy? This is the question we try to answer in our North Korea segment.
Some say 250,000, others say as many as 3.5 million. Estimates vary. But according to current census-based data, during the North Korean famine, which occurred from the mid to late 1990s, 500,000 to 1 million North Koreans died of starvation or hunger-related illnesses. That is about 2 to 3% of the entire population.
누나하고 남동생이었어요. 근데 그 남동생 무릎에 그 누나가 앉아 있었어요. 근데 막 울더라고요, 그 남자애가. 그래서 보니까 누나가 지금 죽어가고 있는 거예요. 항상 기억되는 고난의 행군 중에 한 장면이죠. 이게 잊지 않아요, 제 머릿속에서.
The famine, also known as the Arduous March in North Korea, came as a result of several external and internal factors, namely the loss of the Soviet Union's support and a series of floods which destroyed valuable crops and farmland.
1994년도 이후에 함경북도에서 최초로 10만 안쪽의 아사자가 발생을 하면서 거기서부터 실질적인 농업 피해가 시작되면서 고난의 행군이 시작됐다고 볼 수가 있습니다.
The Arduous March was a reference to a propaganda story circulated in 1993.
The term Arduous March actually was initially applied to the events of late 1938 and early 1939. At that time, according to the official North Korean history, a group of guerrillas under command of Kim Il-sung, the grandfather of the current leader, had to escape the Japanese troops and made an extremely difficult march across winter Manchuria.
수령님께서 생사를 막 무릅쓰고 민족과 이 나라를 구원한 것처럼 인민들도 좀 배고프고 힘들지만 이거를 이겨내가지고 이 나라를 지키자 하는 의미로 정치적인 의미를 부여해가지고 강요한 거죠. 이렇게 행군을 하자.
Before the Arduous March, the Stalinist state had a strong hold over the economy with a very strict surveillance system. But it began to break down as the economy could only operate at minimum capacity, thus halting the public distribution system.
국가 배급이 단번에 짜는 건 아니란 말입니다. 한 달에 버른 배급 줬어요. 버른 배급을 한 1년 주다가 완전히 끊어졌단 말이야. 이제 완전 자급자족이다. 완전히 자급자족하는 그 대가로 장마당을 이렇게 시장을 열어놨단 말입니다.
Production on major industrial, state-owned industrial plants came to a nearly complete standstill. So people began to do their own business. They began to work at the private fields, which were illegal, but nobody paid attention. They began to buy and sell.
So there emerged Changmadang, literally meaning market grounds or North Korean marketplaces.
술 장사해, 사탕 팔아봐, 몸소 빵도 굽어봐, 과사도 만들어봐. 별거 다 해봤어요. 해보고 고사리도 많고 약초도 많다만 그래가지고 내가 손을 잘 잡았죠. 손을 잘 잡아가지고 힘들게 그렇게 막 본인 몸이 살다가 고사리 장사를 했단 말입니다.
Changmadang became a critical means of survival, and the type and the volume of commodities traded in Changmadang expanded to a great extent.
최초의 야채나 무슨 채소 같은 것만 교환하던 데서요. 철광석 또는 어떤 입은 석탄, 그 다음에 원자재까지 다 가지고 와서 서로 거래를 하면서 높은 물건의 가격을 하게 되면서요. 오히려 북한은 물건 값이 더 폭등을 하게 됩니다. 그래서 북한 계획경제 체제에서 이 물건 값을 잡을 수 없게 됨으로써 실질적으로 식량을 어느 정도의 돈과 배급으로 구입하든 일반 북한 주민은 생활을 할 수 없게 되는 거죠. 이것이 바로 아사자수를 굉장히 극대화시킨 북한만의 특수한 원인이었다고 볼 수가 있는 겁니다.
The arduous march brought a fundamental change, not only to North Korea's overall economic system, but also to the social structure.
돈이 되는 직업을 선호하기 시작했죠. 사람. 교사들도 다 직업을 그만두고 그런 쪽으로 가지 않으면 장사로 나가는 사람들. 굉장히 계층 구조가 많이 바뀌었고.
The Great Famine also had a great effect on the North Korean people's average physique.
고난의 행군기에 소년기를 겪은 사람들은 평균 신장이 일반 북한 주민에 비해서도 한 4, 5cm가량 작고요. 우리나라하고 비교하면 10cm에서 거의 15cm가량이 차이가 나는 굉장히 왜소한 사람들이 됐습니다.
In 1998, North Korea made the first statement that the arduous march was over, and the statement was announced again in 2000. Despite the claim, the North Korean people have continued to suffer from chronic food shortages for more than a decade.
주워 먹을 것도 없는 데서 뭐 버린 가지고 풀도 없어서 못 먹을 때 지금도 쓰레기통 뒤에 사람 많아요. 고난의 행군은 아사라는 수를 떠오르게 하는 북한의 정말 아픈 역사라고 생각을 합니다.
Economic situation in North Korea remains very bad. It's a very poor country. And a significant part of the North Koreans, probably majority of the North Koreans, are malnourished.
Many believe history repeats itself, but the arduous march is a segment of history that should never be repeated in North Korean history or in the history of any other living nation.
And that's all we have time for on Bizline this week. Thanks for joining us. We hope you're going to stay cool in the summer heat, and we hope you'll be joining us again soon. Same time, same place, same face. I'm Andrew Salmon. This was Bizline. Goodbye.